Alright, put that over there. I ran a test run and it didn't work. The winch was not, or is not, really strong enough. So it's either spend $100 and buy a bigger winch or work with a snatch block. Well, I had a snatch block. Well, my neighbor let me borrow one that he has, and it worked. But now I need to make up the difference in the cables somehow. Now the problem being is I wanted to keep this all kind of at a low profile. So I thought I had the right socket here, but apparently not. So alright, anyway, I used a snatch block and it worked. Now the problem is I didn't want to have this thing standing 8 feet high. So it's kind of limited as to where I'm going or what I'm doing with the height and the cable. So the way it is now, without the snatch block, it would probably work as far as the right cable length. However, it's not going to go up unless I use the snatch block or buy a bigger winch. Well, buying another snatch block is going to be cheaper than buying another winch, so I'm thinking of just shortening these up a little bit and see if that would help with what I needed to do here. I just want to make sure that I keep them both as close to the same as possible. I only want to do one at a time, but I want to make sure that it's not going too far out of the way. Okay, so let's try this. And this little socket I have here is just a hair too big. I really don't know how much higher I have to go. Is this a snap-on? Can't be. Yeah, it is. Wow. He's slipping on me. I gotta find the right socket. This is driving me nuts. Because what it wants to do is, it gets caught. So, hold on. Sorry guys. I gotta fix that. I put this too close. I can't get my finger under there to release the latch. These aren't deep. These aren't deep. So these are not going to work. Because I need deep. So I guess I'm going to have to go with the 3/8 drive. I miss having my tools. My tools. That's not the one. And that's a little too big. Alright, so let's get down in here. Let's get into the metric. There. Man, even the metric's a little big. A little weird. And that's too small. Oh, we're going to use this one. 12 point, but what are you going to do? Man, my nose has been driving me nuts the last few weeks. If I'm not clearing my throat, I'm running my nose. I just got to go buy a good set of ratchets, sockets rather. Both in metric and standard. So there's to it. You know, SK used to be good. I don't know if SK is still good or not, but they used to be good for the money. They were really a decent little tool. At one time, before Snap-on, that's all I used to carry or own. But I'm going back, 50 years or so, so I really couldn't tell you how they are nowadays. Okay, so they want to be about the same. That's about the same. So that's taking me up a couple of inches there. So let's see. I mean, the thing is, I don't use them enough like I used to where I need a snap-on, even though I like snap-on. Their wrenches seem to fit better, their sockets always seem to work better. Again, it's been a long time, so I'm sure there's other tools out there that are just as good. Mac was another one I used to use a lot. But, for instance, the thickness of the socket. With Snap-on, I never had a problem trying to get in to get a bolt or a nut out because the socket was too thick to get into a certain area. Where on some of these other ones, you try to get in there and you can't because the socket wall is too thick. So I never had that problem with Snap-on. And the same for the wrench, the jaws on it. Were never real thick, so you couldn't get into a nut that's tightly in. And I'm sure you guys have done a lot with mechanics, you know. Anyway, like I was saying, sometimes I've never had the problem with Snap-on, and you may never have it in any way, shape, or form. If you're doing a lot of mechanic work, you'll know what I mean. And not that I did a lot, but I used to do a lot. You take a bolt or a nut that's down in there that you got to get with your socket, and you're trying to get in here and you can't because the socket wall is too thick, and the nut or the bolt that you're trying to get to is kind of sunk in a little bit, so you're trying to get that in there and you can't because of where it's at. And with a Snap-on, usually the wall of the sockets were a little bit thinner, so you were able to get down inside, that particular area to get what you had to get. And again, like I was saying, the same with wrenches, the jaw, or the on the box end. Snap-ons were always a little thinner, but not taken away from the integrity of the tool. It still had the same integrity if it was thicker. So that's one of the reasons why I used to like Snap-on. As far as the teeth, a lot of your stuff now is coming out with finer teeth, but I used to like them because back then they were one of few that had a real fine tooth, and still kept up the integrity of that tooth so that it wasn't going to strip out on you. So at one time, Snap-on was, like the way to go. I don't necessarily need that now as much, but I still need a good tool. So these are not bad, but they're, I mean, the socket's the ratchet's kind of cool. It's okay. I'm not getting into spots where I really got to worry about that fine tooth, but I don't want to take a chance and not get there, so I want finer than this. And I want a set of both deep and shallow in both metric and standard. And possibly 3/8 and quarter. So I got to look around and see what I can find out there. And like I say, SK used to be pretty good. I don't know how they are now. It's been a long time since I've had SK. And I'm sure there's some other good ones out there. But Craftsman's are not like they used to be. They're no longer that Craftsman's tool that we used to buy and love and have faith in. But Mac, they're about the same as Snap-on, as far as price. So it's a hit and miss at this point. All right, hold on, guys. I'm going to shut off the recorder because I got to go outside for a minute. Anyway, I shortened up those lines. I used a small snatch block and it started to work. It actually came off the ground. However, the cable snapped. So this cable is not heavy enough.
Yeah, I was sitting there listening. I didn't want to come out because I knew things weren't going well.
Yeah, not a big deal.
So.
Yeah. What I was trying to do was unravel the cable because it's all scuts out in there.
Yeah.
And as I'm unraveling it, I'm seeing it's got all kinds of nicks and bangs and little spurs where the cable's like, worn and
Yep.
cut. Yeah. All right, and then next thing you know, snap. So, well, I can't trust this cable, and it's not worth putting a heavier cable. See, even right here,
Yeah.
it's not worth putting a heavier cable on there. Look see the kinks.
Yep.
Apparently, when they put this on there, they weren't paying attention, and it got all kinked up. I mean, and the next thing you know, it started to break.
It's probably done by machine.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? Like I say, it's not, that winch is not worth putting a new cable on.
No.
I'll save as much of this cable as I can. I'll use it for a real lightweight. If anything, I'll put some line on it instead of cable. And we're not going to use it on that. So, yeah, you heard it snap.
Yeah, I heard all of a sudden I heard a bunk and
Yeah.
and I thought, oh shit.
Yeah, well, that was just the cable. When it snapped, it kind of whiplashed.
Yeah, well, I was afraid the van was going to come crashing down.
No, the van was on the ground. I had the van halfway out the driveway.
I think the best thing for you to do is put a duffel bag together with the essential stuff you need if you have to use my van.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
And put it in my van so you don't.
Yeah. And, yeah, that's all. Yeah, the van was on the ground.
Yeah.
I had it out the driveway about halfway because I was trying to get the cable straight,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even holding the van in the driveway. That's when it snapped.
Wow.
So the cable is definitely not up to snuff. And like I say, I don't even think the cable is worth the cable that it says that this thing is worth on 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
You know? And you buy China crap, you get China crap, and everything is China nowadays. Now the one on the front, that's supposed to be a little bit better, so we'll see what happens. You know, if I gotta pull myself out of something, I may just try it though. I'll hook it to the fence and let the van roll down the driveway a little bit. You know what I mean? It should be able to pull the van up the driveway.
Well, somebody probably should be in the van to step on the brake in
Maybe.
case it doesn't hold.
Maybe. When that time comes, I'll let you know. So. But that's for the front one. That's not this one.
Yeah.
This one is not going to go back on the van. I'm going to disassemble it from here, and we'll use it. Well, I'll leave it on here for now, but I'm not going to use this to count on anything big.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. You want to take that and put it on the curbside? It's up to you.
Probably wait until tomorrow because that's trash pickup.
Well, I don't want it to go with the trash.
Well, they won't throw it out. They usually just take it.
No, I want it to be put out there for somebody to take. Now, listen, if you don't feel like doing it, I'll do it later. I mean, I don't want you walking around if you don't feel good.
I'm fine.
All right? All right, so anyway, I'm going to use this for lightweight only. The cable on this was all scotside in there. It wasn't on there right. It was caught. There was loops, all kinds of crap. So I put the van in the driveway. I put it in neutral. The driveway has a very slight downgrade. So I said, all right, I'll attach it to the fence. The fence is cemented in, so I don't have to worry about that. And I will unravel this so I can kind of get it back on there straight. Because when you were using it, you hit that and it would jump. So it wasn't doing, you know, and that jump, if you got a lot of weight on it, you got to worry about it. Ow. Well, as I was letting it out with a little weight on it, a little bit at a time, that's what happened. And now that I have a lot of it out, I'm seeing that a lot of these kinks that were in there actually weaken the cable to where there's 4 or 5, some even 6 or 8 strands broke. So this cable is basically useless. Now it would be okay, I think, for maybe like 500-600 pounds, but it's not going to be worth the 2,000 that it's supposed to be. That it says on it. You want something for necklaces?
No, babe, I have jewelry box.
Oh, okay. Well, you're the one that said necklaces, so all right. So
No,
this
I
can go up
said
too.
that.
So all this we're going to take off. I'll throw it out there in the wheelbarrow and just dump it.
I put that one right next to the mailbox so that the garbage people wouldn't think it was crap. But
Okay.
it wouldn't stand up.
I said okay how many times?
Once.
Okay. Now, did you come out here to aggravate me or to be nice?
No, I'm
Which one is it?
probably a little of both. I'm very diverse. Dinner. I took out ground beef. We haven't had ground beef in like 4 days, so that's
Okay.
good.
All right.
But I was thinking about, instead of cheeseburgers, which there's still cheeseburgers in there from
Okay.
the last time, grind it up, add sauce.
You mean like a, yeah, okay.
Should I put beans in it?
Whatever you want to do. You mean like a pasta risotto almost?
Yeah,
Yeah, all right.
but I'll put, jarred sauce in it.
All right, that's fine.
I'll put beans in it too.
Okay.
Give us some fiber.
Hey, you keep talking like you're trying to convince yourself.
No, I don't know that.
All right. That stupid Maytag washing machine is so damn unpredictable. It stopped working. We reset it, it worked, stopped working. Reset, worked, stopped working. Off balance, on balance. I mean, it's just one of those agitator-free ones, and it's the biggest piece of shit known to man. And it got so that we couldn't even use it. I mean, that's how bad it got. And we're talking, I threw in I couldn't even a couple of the wife's silk work blouses. I mean, like, I think it was like 5 or 6 pieces. And all balanced the way they want you to balance it. And it never went even into the spin cycle. So we went and bought a new one. Well, now we got a new one coming. They're delivering it, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. Ah, there's that piece. Tuesday or Wednesday they're delivering it, and now this one started to work again. But you know what? It's going to act up again. So we'll just keep them both up here. We'll use one for the dog stuff, and if it blows up, which is the shitty one, if it stops working, it stops working because we got the new one. All right. I gotta unplug this unit from the truck. Let me go get the power. Okay. So here's the power cable. The power cable. This plugs into here like so. I'll hook this up over there. What I want to do is put some tension on this cable so I can pull it. Man, what a mess. This, my friends, is a piece of shit winch. Well, I can't say that, but it's a, I don't even know what the hell it is here. I got it. It's a T2000, whatever that is. LT2000. It's got a big S on it. I guess that's for shit. Super winch. Oh yeah, super shitty winch. It's so bad they don't even put a name on it. Anyway, I want to put some type of tension on this thing so that alright, so anyway, let's start over here. Took this out there, hooked it up, started to bring the van up. Not a problem. Had a little problem though getting it because this was getting tired. Apparently I would need a bigger one. 2000 wasn't going to cut it. I had my neighbor over here at the same time because I figured I needed somebody here. Other than my wife. Just in case something happened, I had somebody that was going to think and not panic. So he came over. We realized that this is not going to happen. Now, everything was holding. It just wasn't lifting it. It got to a point, but just before it came off the ground, it just started to slow down, and we got just a little bit of smoke out of this thing. So I said, all right. So he went over, and he has a snatch block. And he got his little snatch block. We put that on there. Started working fine. However, we didn't have, the cable wasn't short enough to lift it up off the ground completely, so I had to shorten those rings, which I had done. So I'm going to take it back out now, because now we've got about another 6 inches of play. So that should give me all that I need. So I went out there, and as I'm winching it up, I noticed that the cable was jerking. And I look, and it's all screwed up in there. It was like this, you know, and wrapped up with this sticking out, which you think I should have noticed to start with, but you didn't until you unrolled one or two winds, and then all this started popping up, and then I noticed it had a lot of breaks in it. But so let me do this before I try to lift the van with it. Let me attach it to the fence, and again, my driveway is on a little bit of an angle. I'll put the van in neutral. I'll bring it out using the winch to straighten the cable out, and then I'll bring the van back in, because it's not going to be 2,000 pounds when it's just rolling. So the winch should have been more than enough, and it was holding to a point. Well, as it's rolling out, it's going ka-chunk, ka-chunk, because the cable was all scotsot in there. So every time it came to a loop, it would go ka-chunk. You follow me? Or ka-chink. It was ka-chinking and ka-chunking, whatever you want to do with it. Well, it ka-chunked, and then this broke. So this couldn't take those little ka-chunks. Oh shit, okay. Luckily, the driveway isn't on that big of a slope, so it wasn't a big problem at this point. But that's where we're at. So I decided to run the cable out more. Now that there's no weight on it, I'm just pulling the cable, and I'm finding all kinds of nicks and cuts in the cable that I've never even let off the roll yet. So it's basically, supposedly, new cable. But I'm finding it where strands are broke, and not just one strand or two strands where you can get, you know, cut on it, but I'm talking like a whole wrap of strands. Because what it is, it's multiple strands that are wrapped, then they take those strands and wrap them again. You see what I mean? I think you know what I'm talking about. And one of those whole strands and things are broke as you go along, which means this cable is no way, shape, or form going to support the 2,000 pounds, because it's not complete. And that's where we're at, and that's probably why this happened. So I can't use this for that. However, the theory does work. With the snatch block, it works great, which is not a big deal. So again, the theory works. So this is not worth, in no way is this going to do it. So I'd either have to buy a bigger winch and a catch block, a snatch block, so that it'll help relieve some of the stress, and or just say forget about it. So do I want to spend a couple $100 to try and complete and to do it, or do I just want to say forget about it? Now, I can still use this if I wanted to lift up 300, 400, 500 pounds, you know, to put it on a trailer. You know, I can back the trailer under that. So it still has a use. But I really don't want to spend a couple $100 to buy a new winch and all that, just to possibly use it, you know, once or twice a year to put chains on. You know, when I can take the wife's van, which she had said take it anyway, so which is all-wheel drive, which it used to be my van, and it'll drive through anything. I mean, I can't brag enough on how good the Astro vans, all-wheel drive Astro vans are in the snow. I mean, if you look around, you'll see people put plows on these things. I mean, that's how good they are. So I just put a to-go bag, so that if I have to take hers, I can just throw the bag in, and I know just the one that I'm going to buy because I have one already, and I'll just have it in her van. So if I need to go, I can just go. And I'll buy a set of chains. So if we are going to get a big storm, that they say, oh, there's a big one coming, you know, if that were to happen, You know, because 6 inches now is a big storm, you know. But I'll put the chains on. Because there's another way of doing this. You can get a brick, for instance, a patio block, a brick. I'll use this just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. If this was a brick, the width of the chain, not so much the height, but a brick, I can put this down in the center, lay my chain over it, so the chain would be over the brick. So this would be a short brick sticking through one of the loops in the chain. I drive up onto the brick, and then I can just bring the chain over it. Or I can just put the chain down, then I got to drive over the chain. And I'm trying to eliminate moving a lot of snow just to get the chains on. So by laying the chains out in the snow with a brick, I just have to drive up on the brick. Then just wrap the chain around it and I'm all set. I don't have to worry about pulling forward, pulling backwards, you know, or trying to deal with it. Now I may be making more out of it than it is. Because I haven't done chains in 50 years. So, you know, I mean, people that do it all the time, or people that are in good shape, you know, I can say it's not a big deal. But, you know, when you start getting 70 with bad back and bad heart and, you know, shit like that, you know, you know, things start to hurt after a while and you get out of breath and you don't want to be out in the cold too long. Especially out in the cold laying around on your back or trying to put chains on a vehicle, you know, when you got a foot of snow. So, you know, it's easy for some of the young guys to say, well, I'll just get out there and put them on. No, I don't think so. Easy for you to say. All right, now what I need is something. I'm not going to cut my hand with. I used to have, well, what I used to have and what I have, I probably still have it. I just don't know where it is. But we'll just do it this way for now. Put a little attention on this. Let me see. Okay. Stop there because this is all outside. Alright, so basically guys, the unit actually worked. They have this over there to keep tension on it. But the unit, it did work. So the system will work. But you're going to have to make sure you got the right winch and you got everything that's going to support the weight. And it did work. If this didn't fail, I would probably still be going at it and using it because, okay, that's not going to work. Hold on a minute. If everything was good, it would work. I would use it. However, I am glad that this broke. Now, not that I would have been under the van anyway. I still would have always maintained it as being outside from being under it, and I would chuck it, you know, with some jack stands on the bumpers, because the bumpers are strong on that thing. That's what I was using to lift it with. So, you know, if it were to fail, the jack stands would be holding it. However, you know, it was good that it happened now and not in the middle of the winter when I'm trying to put chains on. So, alright, so I got to cut this. I got to cut this off. And we're going to put a new one on there. I'm going to use this hook. I'm just going to redo this piece here. So let me go over here and get the grinder out and cut this. So hold on a minute. It has some good leverage on them. they're Harbor Freight specials. They make cutters for this stuff, but this should cut this. Even if I nip away at it, it should cut it. I mean, it may not take it all at once, but it should cut it. I should have put some tape on it first, because that would have helped with a clean end. Alright, so that worked. So they did work. Alright. Let me get... I want to use these. I do have those crimps. I just don't know where I put those. But I know I have them. Turnbuckles, and I don't need a turnbuckle. At least now I know where they are. They're all on the bottom. Ah, there's a couple. I knew I had them, I just didn't know where the hell they were. I'm gonna have to order some more. Looks like I only have 2 of them. Well, I mean, I only need 1, but I do want to use 2, and they're 2 different sizes, so that's not going to help. Was it going to fit this cable? No. So these are not going to fit this cable. What do I have in this box? No. Those are used ones. Let's see. Dump these out and see. Yes, we do tiny ones. Oh, the small one. That's smaller, that's not help. I like this right here. These nuts. Alright. This one's nuts. Alright. I guess I can use one of these other ones. I really want to, if I can. I just don't want to get caught in anything. That's the only thing. For the most part, this is good. This probably would. Yeah. There. It should be in like Flint. I like Flint. Remember him? Secret agent. Our man, my man, Flint, after us. He also played a cowboy or something one time as well. I don't remember which one it was. Played the old westerns. Old big top. No, spaghetti westerns. Okay. It's going to be easier to get them out of here. These little boxes, you can buy these. I forgot the name of the place. It's in California. I had it somewhere around here.